Thing for me was I used to probably look down upon cinema, and I was like, how have you put your body through? That worry was there constantly. We would video call and I would see him, and when he came home, and I remember when I hugged him, when I hug Prithvi usually he's like this. But when I show my character,
correct.
I might not know the cultural context of using that reference. Which is my husband. His Malayalam is excellent, as is his English. Self-troll.
Hi Supriya.
Hello.
Welcome to FC South.
Thank you.
Now I want to start with something very interesting that you said in an old interview of yours, and it was about that overlap between your career as a journalist and now your career as a producer. On the surface of it, it's very interesting because when you work as a journalist, you know that 90% of the time you're just chasing stories, right? So is that a big part of your job as a producer, or is there more to like filmmaking and that journalism overlap somewhere?
Well, I think also as a television producer, television reporter, you also tend to be a television producer. Like I was producing my own stories. I didn't have a separate producer. So you knew how to get the story together. You first identify the story, then you find the elements, then you put it together, you film it and put it together, and then the story finally comes on, onto your network. So you are producing in a way as well. Here, of course, it would be, it would be rather simple to say if that was the only overlap, because production involves so many more things, and it's not instant gratification, because 24-hour television means the timelines are much shorter, and what you shoot in the morning, it's coming on the air at night, or later, during the week, there's a prime time show and then it's on air. But in terms of film, the cycle is much longer. Also, organizing people and managing people is a definite skill set, which probably journalism doesn't teach you, because you are asking people questions and then you move on to the next story. Here, of course, you are seeing these people for a long period of time, you're working with them, and these are the same artists or technicians you're going to work on in other movies as well. So, yeah, I don't know if I've addressed your question.
Yeah, of course,
so this is the dynamic, I feel. So as a reporter producer, yes, I was chasing stories and I was identifying stories and I was trying to tell these stories. Here and I think I was insular because it was just between me, my cameraman, editor. I had a lot more control. Films, are definitely a team sport.
Yeah.
You can say anything you want to, but it's not about this one person. It's about everybody. So then the control is far lesser. As a producer, I definitely think the control is far lesser at this point in time. So, and I don't think that's going to change unless you become like a big studio where, and I don't see that setup coming to India. A lot of big studios have come in, and it hasn't really worked. And they've all tried their hands at trying big projects, and it hasn't worked because here it's so star-driven, right? So that control I don't see. So yeah, that's how it is.
But at least in the case of when you're working as a journalist, you had a certain instinct to smell out a good story, right? When you're listening to scripts and when you're kind of trying to get films greenlit and made and all that, do you feel that both are at least somewhat similar in terms of at least, okay, this I know will work with people, or this I know will move the audience? Is there something similar in that? Well,
you wish for a hook in both cases, but not all stories are 9 p.m. stories, as you understand. Not when you get Mr. Say Rajnikant for an interview, as opposed to getting somebody different, your numbers that you're going to clock in is going to be much different, right? So it's the same thing. So I guess one tries to hear the story. I try to hear it as an audience member because I don't. I'm very new in this profession. I had to start a new profession or learn about a new profession after I had been settled, educated in journalism for a very long time.
And just when you had finished the climb, you had to start another climb.
Yeah, I think I had to leave that and start. I mean, so while I think I'm happy that I got to learn about a new profession, it takes time. So I'm a newbie, I'm a complete rookie, and I understand that. So I hear scripts, sometimes maybe I may not understand them as well as probably my partner Prithviraj does, but I definitely feel I've got a flair to understand now, like, okay, if this is working. So we are looking at projects where, like, recently there was, I had heard a couple of stories. Out of that, one story really struck me, and I sent those guys to Prithvi and said, can you hear it? Because the creative aspects of the company, he sort of takes a call, So he heard it and I said, no, this is really good. But that was a documentary, which
Okay.
which is
That is
in my
closer.
domain, right? Like, to do long format investigative journalism pieces, I've done that. So
Yeah.
that's a documentary, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. So yeah, so I guess I'm still learning. But today, the kind of cinema that's being made, it's very hard to.
Yeah.
You could lose something really big because you don't understand it or you don't relate to it. Like a lot of it is very, very youth oriented. And while I'm not
Exactly.
that very old,
Yeah.
I didn't grow up here. So my perception of the youth here is very different, right? Or when I was in my 20s, that game was very different compared to what it is right now. So you may miss it because it might be lost in translation because you didn't grow up with it, you don't identify with it. So you might think, it doesn't work, but it might be just a fabulous story which is working everywhere. But because of your ignorance or like my ignorance, I might just miss it.
I think that's why I spend so much time on reels. For this.
Yeah, reels, I mean, but look at the attention span, right? Like, a reel is what, 30-second at drops?
Yeah, maximum.
But you're talking about a full feature film. So while that segment may be interesting, you have to keep the audience in their seats for 2 hours, at least 2 hours, and then whatever. So then it's not an easy game. So I guess it's always, it's a learning process. I mean, this business is not easy.
Of course.
I used to look at it very differently when I was on the other side.
I have that question.
Yeah. So now I feel like, okay, I have a lot more respect for what my partner does.
Process,
yes, the whole process, because like, ये तो आसान काम है. ये मतलब, you're not saving lives. That's my constant. That used to be my constant retort when I was dating Prithvi, like, saying that you're not saving lives. You're not a doctor or a fireman or a policeman or even a reporter. Like, we run towards danger, right? Like,
talking
so,
truth to power.
Exactly. You are like, asking the authorities and whatever. So, but clearly, people, you need something in life which is entertaining. You need to sort of take your mind off the mundane. And a lot of times, cinema also does reflect society, which is why a lot of the true stories find so much resonance. I mean, I watched Baby Reindeer, just finished it. Oh my God, what a moving piece.
Correct,
I was shook. And I was just like, oh my God, this really happened.
Yeah, and eventually it doesn't alienate the stalker.
It doesn't.
You get a sense of even what she's going through.
There's empathy, right?
There's empathy with
I
her.
couldn't, and I couldn't believe it that I was feeling empathy towards this character.
Exactly.
So, so it moves you. And then, but then it's like, that's where the cinema person shuts off and the journalist starts. Then I start Googling their whole past. Then I'm trying to find who the stalker is and then what their past is, if there is more. So
her interview's out today.
I know.
Yeah.
So I know, I haven't seen it, but I know it's out. And I was like, oh, she's come out saying this is not true. There was no jail sentence. So
But tell me about this one thing. Of course, when we decide to become journalists, we love the job and we're very passionate about it. But there are certain aspects of the other things we reject to become a journalist also, right? Things like, we're scared of numbers. I mean, at least I was. We're scared of money to some extent. We're scared of taxation and paperwork and all that. Now that you're a producer, at least isn't half your job all these really complicated things you'd probably never have to do as a journalist?
I hate
difficult.
You are right about that, because money, numbers, taxation, these were things. I was a business journalist, so I understood the concepts. But I was talking about macroeconomic issues, and if you're talking about fiscal deficit or we're looking at GDP,
that
I
we
remember.
got,
That I understand. Okay, like this is the economy. I'm not looking at but if now I'm like, okay, this person is. We're looking at tax statements and we're looking at financials of the company. We're looking at the numbers for a film. It's not easy, and it's not something that necessarily fires me up, but someone's got to do the job. And right now we are a startup, technically speaking. We started in our first project, we started filming in 2018, which was 9. We set up the company in 2017, like we registered it in 2017. So we are about 8 films old. And now Guruvayoor Nadayil is coming out on the 16th. So so we are a startup. So we are a pretty small team, in the sense it's just me and him with a couple of other people who are helping us out. So someone has to do the job, but do I love it? No, not at all. But has it got to be done? So you grit your teeth and you sort of, plow through it and do your work. So yes, I'm beginning to understand it. And I guess it's good to have processes. I think that's what, which helps me, because from my corporate background, like, there was a whole department which is HR, there is a, a finance department, then there is creative, there is marketing. So you understand processes, which is what something I feel is good for me to get into a company like this and set up a company, which I felt was not common here in terms of processes. It is still like,
very mom and
it's
dad,
a mom and pop store,
yeah,
right? Most of the time, and it's like vaakku parnu.
Yeah, correct. Based on friendship.
हाँ, तो दोस्ती के नाम पे कर रहे हैं. So I feel like, so there is a bit of when people come to work with us, are they like 60-page ka contract, and I'm like, yeah, the contract is kind of long. We do it this way. So there is like, to get to transition into this way of working also. For me, it's easy because it comes naturally to me. But in the industry that I'm working, it's not so easy to sort of, implement everything. So someone's got to do it. And I think in the long run, it'll help us, because for everyone, when there are streamlined processes as far as work is concerned, especially where monies are concerned, and given today's climate where, you can be you are scrutinized at every point, it's good to have everything on paper and on computer, which can be just pulled up at a minute's notice. So I do have help. I have a lot of help from my finance team. So they help me. But to answer your question, it's not something that I love, but I have to do it. So yes.
But have you faced, like exactly like how you mentioned it, this is how companies run, this is how business is run in every other industry, in every other country.
Yes.
But then when you're trying to introduce these kinds of things, which is very normal outside but new to the Malayalam cinema industry, is there a lot of resistance that you have to kind of deal with?
Yeah, I mean, people don't take easily to change.
Yeah.
That is something that, it normally happens, especially when things have been going on for so long a certain way. It's not easy for everyone to wrap their heads around. And then they're like, ye kaun hai? Like, who's this new girl who's just nyangala eppatutta? Idu inganeyaana. This is how it's done. Or, so it happens, but I guess you can't bring about very radical change overnight. I also understand that. So sometimes we have to make the concessions. But as far as a lot of things go, everyone I think is now beginning to understand, because this is the only way. Like, if I want to tomorrow get some, investment into my firm from maybe an equity firm or like a private investor, they want to see my books. They want to analyze everything, and everything is on paper, for you to look at. They want to understand balance sheets. They're going to look at my P&L. They're not going to look at kitna, this star, that star. They're going to look at the P&L and say, okay, these are the books, these are clean, this is what it is. So I guess you have to look at the long term. I'm also not looking to run a company for today, tomorrow. I'm looking at a very long vision where I have a big company which is doing many things in the entertainment sector and outside of that. So for that, we need to make sure we run, in a corporate way. And this is the only way I know. I think luckily, because I always worked for corporates, whether it was NDTV or whether it was BBC, I realized this is how a company setup works. So yes, it is tough to work here, because also everyone is like, a lot of them are your seniors, right? They've been in the business and they've been around, and they're like, so to try and tell them, but can we try it this way? Like, there is a bit of a resistance, but I guess you have to keep pushing, otherwise it's not going to happen. So yeah.
But like you said, this is the 8th film that you guys are producing, right? And it's a superb trailer. Like, I'm just so looking forward to watching this movie. At least as a producer, does things get easy, or does each new film come with new problems and new challenges? And like, for instance, this movie I heard was shot in an really expensive, complicated set of the temple, and then you have to, that itself is a logistical nightmare. So does production ever get easy, or is it always the same level of difficulty?
I think one has to go into production knowing what the challenges are going to be, and we try to mitigate that as much as we can by planning. One of the ways to save money in film production is by planning meticulously and to ensure that your shoot is being done within a certain number of days. But then there are a lot of other factors as well, like it could rain torrentially, or like your lead actor could have an injury. Like look at another film which got stalled because Prithvi, who was the actor there, met with an injury and he had to take a 3-month break. So these are all factors that you can't really you can account for, but you have to, you can't be prepared. Like, you can just say that this happened. But otherwise, I feel, has production gotten easier? I think I'm getting the hang of it, because I have a great team, I have a great EP who helps me out. But there are challenges. There are always day-to-day challenges. I mean, Guruvayoor Nadayil, the set you can't obviously shoot in Guruvayoor,
course,
and the temple itself is such an integral part of our, Guruvayurappan and Krishnan is an integral part in the sense that temple and the entire environment is a
And
part of the
everybody
film.
knows every inch of that
Exactly.
building.
So how do you put up a set of something that is so well known? So we have to thank the Devaswam board for this. They allowed us to sort of take measurements outside the temple. Obviously, everything is outside, nothing is indoors of the entire area, and we could try and do a complete replica. And it took a lot of man hours. Obviously, there was a big team behind it, and they got it set up. And then we had a long shoot there. The entire climax is shot in that set because obviously we can't shoot outside the actual temple. And we had a lot. I mean, I think we had thousands of junior artists, and so it's always a logistical issue normally, and does it get easier? I guess it depends from project to project. If you're pulling off a big project, the challenges are different as opposed to if you're shooting in one room. And then like during the lockdown, we shot a film called Kurudi. Yeah, and the challenges were different. That time we had to shoot with only 50 people. The government had only allowed that, So with the lesser number of people to film in a particular place, being contained, ensure that no one gets COVID because otherwise you would have a huge setback. You could be shut down. All of those things, like while Janagana Mana was being shot, I think half the set got COVID because that whole courtroom scene had a lot of junior artists and everything, and then Prithvi also got COVID. So we had to shut down for many days because everybody was recovering, and there are additional expenses because everybody had to be kept in quarantine. They were all in hotels already. So I guess different films come with different challenges, but one also gets an idea of what the challenges are going to be when one hears the script and one knows the kind of team that one is working with. So you can mitigate it to a certain level, but there are some challenges like I said before. You cannot really account for them. It could just come out of the blue. Like we could have torrential rains and floods, and we'd just be like, oh, or like the part of the set could fall down, God forbid, and if something happens. So yeah, and then there is insurance for all of this. So So
no, but what are your days like when a shoot is going on? Of course, there's a little bit of normalcy when it's pre-production and post-production, right? While a shoot is going on, of course, you could be on the set, you could be at home, you could be going about your daily things anywhere else. Is there another level of stress because all these things are happening in the background and you don't really have any control over anything, right?
I don't know. I mean, I try to go to the set as much as I can, but like I have had films so far that I've produced only with Prithvi. So both of us being on set, being away from our daughter is an issue at times. So I try to see if I can be home, but I do travel a fair amount depending on the where the sets are. But do I go every day? Not really. I feel like like I said, I have a very good team, so they take care of things. And there's no particular stress unless, of course, we are doing something which is very expensive. Like action is expensive. So if you're filming action and you know that you are going above the time, and you have to pay everyone extra allowances and everything, double the per diems and all of that. So all of those things are you keep that in mind. Or if there's like a dance sequence,
that's more expensive.
Not so much, but there are always junior artists involved, right? Like action is quite expensive. Action blocks are always expensive. Like this film, for instance, since we've put up a set of Guruvayoor, from the outside, there's a lot of graphic CG work that's involved. So like, even when we are filming, we have to be mindful of all the CG that's going to be coming up. So there is a sizable
and
CG
that's
chunk
per hour or something, right?
Per second. So you could look at how much
work
there is.
hour
So we do that. So it is expensive. But you get an idea of all this when you set out to do the film. And of course, I think the biggest stress is when you go over budget. Like we do have a contingency of 10 to 15%, but when you cross that.
And how does it work usually? Does it always go above budget?
No, touch wood. Wow. I would like to think I run a tight ship. So far, I'm still calculating on Guruvayoor Ambala Nadayil. The film is not done, but so far, I think we've sort of managed to stick to whatever. Like my first film was under budget, and I was pretty proud of myself because it was the first thing, and I was like, "Come on, we've cracked it!" Like it was under budget. We worked with Sony Pictures International on the first.
Which was this?
9.
Okay.
We shot it in Manali. And we went to Ladakh. I think we went to Spiti, and we shot it there. So we managed to keep it under budget. But after I had driving license, and then we've had Kurdi, Janaganamana, Kadwa. We did Selfie in Hindi, which didn't do too well at the box office. And then now we have Guruvayoor Ambala Nadayil. I think I'm missing one film, but I can't. Gold. Of course, yes, we did Gold as well. So we've tried to stick to, but sometimes, look, directors are, they're all creative people involved. And in our company, the tussle is I am not coming from a purely creative background. Right now, I have the onus of running the company as well. And Prithviraj, my partner and husband, is purely creative in a lot of, So when he's filming on a project that's ours, he always sides with the director. So then it's like me and my EP always fighting with him. Saying like, "Idu veno." So we go into his caravan, then he's like, "Idu veno, idu shot in endale." I'm like, "Idu adjust idu." So that always is like, and they're all creative people. So he tends to side obviously with the
he's director.
Yeah, he's a creative person himself. So he's like, "No, I need to get this." So then it's very hard because my ultimate trump card is for me to ask him, can you please tell me why this is needed? Because he understands this better. So I'm like, I don't get it as much. So I can ask him like, is there an alternate way of doing this? But then he's like, no, if the director wants this, let's get this. So then it's hard because, you have the lead actor and a big star and your company partner saying, go for it. So then we're just looking at each other now. We have no other ways to stall this or say that let's try something else. So yeah.
But isn't that conflict like important? Isn't this in a company, let's say you're the brain and he's the heart, isn't it important that you guys keep it that way? Because somewhere in between is the middle ground, right? Is the correct place to kind of...
True, I think it's important to, I've said this before, it's important to have dissent in any kind of environment, right? And you should have space to voice that dissent. It is truly important, whether it's corporate or it's personal, anywhere, that you should have that voice. So we do have that, but also sometimes it's not pleasant because you live with this person and
Do you guys bring work home?
We discuss, it happens because we are talking about a project. Like if he's filming on the sets, I'm with him on set, and then we come back home and then we talk. We try to, I think we try to avoid it, but it's sometimes just slips in. Like this happened, or could we have done it a different way? But it happens. Like you can't. So there is sometimes it is a tussle. Like it can. We're both extremely. How can I say it? Assertive people. So I should like to think so, but we're assertive people. So then it can be a bit of a tussle sometimes. But I also recognize that he is far senior to me in this field. See, if this were a news channel, I'm not going to take anything. I'd be like, I got this, bro. Let me handle it. But because it's a film company, and I should like to think that he's definitely my senior in this. So there are times where I will have to, sort of listen to him and go with what he's saying rather than what I'm aiming for. But having said that, when I try to bring in newer processes as well, there is a bit of resistance, and he's also able to understand now why we are bringing in this, because he's always like, but nobody here will do it. But we're like, but we can do it.
20 years he's worked in an old school kind of.
20 plus, I'm thinking, right? Like he's the only one who's worked in film and in digital, like correct. He started when he was 18 and he's 41 now, so that's like a fair amount of work. So so I guess there is that conflict, but we're adults. One way of living together is also, and working together, is conflict resolution. So I guess we're working on those skills.
But you guys are husband and wife.
Yes.
So about 10 hours of the day is just in that personal capacity.
Right.
The remaining 8-9 hours is, what do you say, partners running a business. Where are the issues easier to sort out? Is it in the personal space or in the professional space?
Are you trying to create conflict at home?
Because I can't imagine working with my wife.
It's not easy. See, the company started out because I was not sure of, I didn't have any goals when I moved to Kerala. Like I wasn't thinking of staying here permanently. Maybe I wasn't thinking, and I went back to Bombay, but the marriage, like we couldn't stay together in one place, and journalism is a profession where you need to be in that space. At least with what I was doing, I did television journalism. So I know there are a lot of armchair journalists who are on the phone and they put out, that's there. But I was doing television journalism. So then it was not feasible. So when I moved here, and it took a while for me to figure out what I would like to do. And that's when I started taking an interest in cinema and, the kind of scripts that were coming. And I was like, why don't we start? And when we started, there is a lot of comfort being to work with him, because I can sort of be my true self, which may not be very pleasant for others. Like I said, I'm an assertive woman, and
So
it's not
he's
very
the layer
easy.
of buffer, like he's kind of.
I guess he is the face, right? So I get protected a lot. Like I said, I mean, I've mentioned this before. There's a lot of privilege.
Yeah.
I started right at the top. People struggle and then come up the hard way. I did that for my journalism career. Here, it was just like a swoosh down the slide,
The
and
boss,
then, the boss, right? And I know a lot of people listen to me because I'm his wife. Otherwise, they wouldn't give me the time of day. I understand that as well. So the challenge is always to make a mark for myself, for me to be known on my own and not just be sort of basking in reflected glory.
Yeah.
That is not, because I am an independent woman, that is a challenge. And so working together, like, also we are not, he's not working on a home production all the time. We are doing a film with him, the company is doing a film with him after so long.
Yeah.
Like, he has, and Prithvi is also one actor who believes that he has to work with a lot of producers. He doesn't believe that I will only now work for my home production. He doesn't have that thought, because he feels like for the industry to grow, he has to work
Of course.
for everyone, for him also to know what's happening with others. He needs to work with everyone. He comes from that old school of thought. So he is working for other producers. So to get his dates is tough. Like Guruvayoor, Ambala, Nadayil, we had to really please give us dates, please, let us do these combinations. I want to release this film, kind of thing. So because Aadujeevitham was there, plus Prithviraj is also a director. So a lot of time goes now in the directorial as well. So it's not like we're only talking this, because these films are one-off right now.
Yeah.
Once I think I will have a lot more challenges coming up when I start working with other actors.
Yeah.
When I do a film without Prithviraj.
Correct.
Because right now there's a lot of comfort. He is the lead star, he is there. If there's any trouble, I know that I'm protected. He's going to help me take care of it. When he is not involved directly in a project, that would be the challenge. I would think then.
Maybe the documentary.
Yeah, well, the documentary is going on fine, and I wouldn't want to talk too much about it, because I don't want to talk about things that are it's being shot right now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to bring it out in 2026, and so it's going on right now. But that's like my baby, I'm very passionate. I identified the subject and I found the people, and I'm working on that. So like I said, to try and understand this profession and to try and make a name for myself, independent of being Prithviraj's wife. That would be a challenge. So we try and it's a learning curve for me. It's very steep, but it's a learning curve. And also, like I said, I'm a hugely privileged producer. Like there is someone to sort of shield me from everything. So that is a big that's a big benefit. Also, at the same time, a lot of people listen to you simply because you're Prithviraj's wife, right? I'm under no illusions that someone's talking to me because I'm Supriya Menon. I understand that, especially in cinema here, not everybody is so kind, or not everybody wants to listen to a woman here in Malayalam.
It's still the same.
Of course, yes. I mean, you've interviewed how many female producers have you interviewed in Malayalam?
One other.
You must have interviewed Sophia Ma'am? Yeah. So the numbers speak for themselves, right? Like, so how many of us get to say, how many of us, even if we are there as part of organizations that already exist, what kind of a say do we have? Will we ever be elected to, if we contest to a presidential place, and if we do, will the organization listen to us? So these are all questions one has to think over. And also, like I said, people are just getting used to the idea. Like there is Lakshmi Warrior, then there is Sheruga, S-Cube, they have done some great work. There's Sophia Ma'am, then there are others. My names are just slipping out right now. But I'm trying to do it. But also, like I said, I come with the privilege of having someone from the industry. I know Sheruga's father was like a big producer. Gangadharan sir was like a huge producer. But at least, like I said, there's that privilege. But are we getting listened to? Are we getting the kind of are we the first choice for people? Maybe Prithviraj Productions is, because they feel like, oh, if we have a good story, then Prithviraj can act in it and we can produce it. But otherwise, as an independent woman producer, I'm not so sure if I would be the first choice, and I would want to be, an important choice. Maybe not, if not the first choice, I would like to be in the top 3 at least, that let's go to her. She produces good films, or she can get the project done. So so those are the challenges. So you answered the question saying you've only interviewed one other female producer. I mean, it shouldn't be that tag itself shouldn't be there. I'm just a producer, but we are such a minority, and you don't know whether people. The industry is ruled primarily by people who've been around for ages, and they all happen to be men
Correct,
to a large degree, right?
No, the second you ask somebody to draw a producer, you're going to imagine a guy wearing white and white.
Yeah, white and white. Like Ranga.
Yeah, like Ranga, exactly.
Like Ranga. Yeah, so the old thing is you have a bag, I always say like the big Navratan ring and like, the gold chain, and you come in a fancy Benz or a Pajero or whatever, but times are different. So, I mean, everybody calls me madam and ma'am, but when I turn around, they might be, cussing me off. I wouldn't know that. Like, I have a great team. I'm very happy to work with the team that I have because they give me the respect I know I deserve, and I obviously give them the respect that they deserve. And it's a professional working environment. It would be great that by the time my daughter Ali grows up, and there are far more examples for her to see and for other kids to grow up and see. That's the thing, right? You see by example, and then you want to emulate to a large degree. So, I mean, for me, I would love to. I mean, I would love to work with. Tiger Baby. They are one of the people who I feel like, the kind of content that they are coming up with. Some of it is really cutting edge. I want to work with Shonda Land. She has done Bridgerton. She has done Grey's Anatomy. She's a writer, producer. I want to work with her. There are a lot of names. So you are seeing a lot of people doing cutting edge work, but we're very, very few. At least in the West, it's becoming bigger now. In India, we are still like, Hindi, yes. Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, it's just like, and Malayalam is like, really
just,
small. 4-5. So,
But at least don't you think the next generation, like maybe somebody with a script and who's like 21, 22, don't you think they'd probably want a producer like you on board rather than going back to that whole traditional system?
But the power is being wielded by the traditional system, right? They might feel like if they come up against a roadblock, the power that a traditional producer might have in their eyes would be far greater than what I would have, perceived notion of power, right? But today that power is real. So if they go to a traditional producer and they want to get their project done, it would be far easier for them as opposed to coming to me. If I were a solo independent producer, I'm talking without the label of Prithviraj Productions. If I were just alone, Supriya, and I have a production label, they might not choose that because they might think that, can she even pull it off? Does she have the money? That will be there, right? Today money is the least of your concerns because you can raise finances. There are several avenues to raise finances, but can she pull off this project? Can you then do the sales? Can you do the marketing that is required for the project? It's not just enough if you finish the filming. You need to make sure your ancillary rights are sold. You need to make sure you have a rapport with your overseas partner, whether it's digital, whether it's satellite, music, and whether you get a good deal with the theatres, whether you have a might or a clout. See, if I were a traditional partner, they'll know like, next film is with this superstar. So let us give him this small film, 200 theatres. Think about the power dynamic there, right? If I'm a solo producer, I don't have a superstar film coming up next to offer the theatres. No?
They'll think even if this film flops, he's going to make
get the recover.
Movie.
Exactly. So the thing with that, when you're being a lone producer as a woman or, a newbie in that sense, the power dynamic still lies with the tradition, which is why it's better to go, which is why a 21-year-old might think it is better to go there because, Mr. X, Y or Z will be able to give you 300 screens. I might be able to only give you like 80 screens probably if I'm on a good day. And if the movie doesn't do well, he can still say no holdover, we will run it for a week, I am otherwise not going to give you my next film. There are a lot of ways to get this done, right? I'm learning the power tactics. So so that's what.
No, but then the way you mentioned, there are about 4 or 5 directors in Malayalam, which is of course compared to maybe Bollywood, it's still a few, but then it's decent compared to like maybe another South Indian industry.
Right.
At least when you talk about bringing about change, don't you think a producer needs to be a woman for the changes to be a lot more faster compared to, let's say, the superstar of the movie or the director of the movie? Because eventually the producer spends the money. A lot of problems can be sorted with money being spent for whatever that's required on the sets, right? So at least in that case, isn't it very important that producers, like female producers, bring about that change?
It depends. If your female producer is very old and prejudiced, it's not going to help if she has bags of money. I'm telling you that. Like, bathroom it's about the mindset. You can be male or female. Are you evolved? Are you emancipated? Can you deal with empowered women? That is the question, right? You can be anybody, you can be gender neutral, but the thing is, are you completely with the plot of today's times? Are you aware what the lady or what the man on the set needs? So all of those factors are there. Like you said, you can have bags of money matram porallo, vivaram kuda vende.
Common sense. Yeah. So this is about the point that you kind of raised a little earlier. And when you're working as journalist, and of course you've also covered entertainment, you've also spoken to
very little,
but
yeah, it led to a life change.
Yeah. Like you've done stories around people like Rajinikanth and all that. So you've got it covered. At least in that space, and when you're talking to like business tycoons and all that, no, as journalists, we are almost trained to keep a distance, right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of notions that we have about celebrities and people with power and what do you call it, the way their business is being run. When you get into from an outsider, from being an outsider, from trying to stay an outsider, when you're suddenly pushed to become an insider so quickly, how quickly does that whole notion change? Were you like wrong about a lot of things, or did you have a reasonably good idea about how tough their lives are?
I was a business journalist.
Yeah.
For a large period of my time, I was with the BBC. So, I mean, I was interviewing somebody like, say, Adi Godrej or Baba Kalyani or Mr. Anil Ambani or, a lot of business heads, Kiran Mazumdar Shaw and other people. So, I did interview a lot of them, but that was like, those are all business heads, right?
Yeah.
The demeanor is very different
as opposed
to of a movie star. Even at NDTV, when I did the entertainment bit, which was the Rajnikant's special, which was my first entertainment foray, and then I was supposed to do this Malayalam thing, which didn't happen, but gave me a husband instead. But yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing for me was I used to probably look down upon cinema. That, entertainment desk mein politics and crime and business reporter. You understand, right? You have that stiff upper lip kind of thing, like entertainment
what
journalism.
What are these guys doing?
Yeah, you're just dressing up, evening you're going out, what's the latest, B-Town party, you're covering that, and that's your that was there. And I never took cinema as a serious art form, or it was my ignorance because I didn't delve into it. So I understood the economics of it when I was in BBC, because there were big deals being done. I covered when Sony did its first film, Savaria was its first film. I remember going for the premiere and watching Ranveer and I think Sonam. It was a huge launch, and it was a disaster at the box office for them, because so money wise I understood that. I guess when I moved here, I understood how tough the profession is. I used to always sort of take it lightly, even when I was dating Prithvi, that it's, like I said, you're not saving lives. I think that. So it's a very tough profession. You have to give it, there's no off day, really, if you're in front of the camera, and even everybody else, you have to work really hard, and it's interesting to see so many people working towards a common goal. That's the script and the director's vision, right? Everyone is putting their might behind it. So it is a very hard profession. It's not easy, and there's so much creativity, and it is a true art form. And the thing is that I didn't recognize that. I failed to recognize that. And yeah, I mean, as far as the people go, I don't have anything to say.
You were right.
I'm not saying anything. You are saying stuff. Don't put words in my mouth.
Okay. But at least now that you're in this, like you said, the news cycle is just a day. Now it's live. There's no time, right?
Right.
You're reporting and it's already going live.
Yeah.
So it's even shorter now. But in cinema, it's probably the longest, right? You're working towards something. Aadujeevitham is, my God, it's half a lifetime. Yeah. And then finally it's out. Of course, when it does well, I'm expecting it to be very normal and very happy and all that. But when things fail or when things don't work, does it affect you? Or have you also learned from Rajvetan and he's got this Zen attitude where it doesn't matter to him anymore?
We're two different individuals, so we react to things very differently. The only thing I think we share, our ideologies are very similar, and our outlook towards life is quite similar. And the thing is, I have not learned to take it in my stride as well as he has.
You're in bed.
Yeah, but not really in bed. Like I maybe dwell over it longer and I try to analyze where did it go wrong. But luckily, I have not been in that position since I've started doing cinema.
It's all done
You know,
well,
it's
yeah.
all done well, and I'm kind of grateful to the forces that we, the audience, everyone else, and the directors and scriptwriters we've worked with, because we've chosen good scripts. But there will come a time when maybe it will not do well. Like Selfie, for instance, didn't do well at the box office at all, and it was something that, you know, we took a story with great conviction and we took it and we tried to work on it, and it didn't really translate for the audience at that point in time. So I don't know why. I would probably spend 2 days thinking about why it didn't work. He would just sort of move on. But that also comes from his experience,
Yeah.
right? I'm just, like I said, 2018 is when I started. 20 years later, if I'm still around, you ask me this question, maybe I'll just say, I've just
Doesn't
brushed it off.
matter.
Yeah, it's just water off a duck's back, and then I've moved on. So, yeah.
But were you like that even with work? Like, for instance,
No, I get very affected. Like, but with work, there is no, like, you know, you want to be on the. For me, I was a news junkie in the sense, like, big breaking story. I want to be there. Like, you know, that's the thing. So if I was not that, like, I remember there was some incident. I don't remember. My boss didn't send me, and I was sulking because I didn't get sent. Somebody more seasoned. I was a rookie reporter. Got sent for this event, and I remember being like sulking for a bit. Then I was just like, okay, move on to the next. You don't have the time because the turnaround is so immediate, like you said. Here, the turnarounds are much longer. So if like Guruvayoor, we did the puja last May in Guruvayoor, and it is going to be May 16th. It's a year.
Yeah.
I took a year also because of Prithvi's leg, you know, injury, and then, you know, availability of dates, a lot of things, and, you know, it's taken this time. But there is a turn. But almost all cinema now takes about that time. Gone are the days where you're finishing
In 3
shoot in
months,
70 days and it's out. Oh, that doesn't happen. So it takes time. So I guess you have. By the time it comes to the theaters, maybe somewhere there is, like, you know, you've already disassociated from it because the shoot is over long back, the post production is going on, and then when it's going to theaters, then when the day of release, then you have the, I mean, I still get, like, you know, jitters when I go in. I'm just like, okay. And then it's tough because when you come out, there are people now waiting outside, and then you're like a deer caught in the headlights as to how can you respond or what can you say, because you're just coming back and you're thinking of all that you have gone through during the making or during this time and all of that. So yeah, I guess I've not learnt that I feel, you know, to sort of disengage from the result, but I'm sure it'll come, you know, at some point in time, maybe later, or maybe I have to train myself. But I'm okay with it. It's not like I'm sitting and moping for days. But I guess it also is that because I'm not the lead actor, it probably affects the lead a lot more because the disaster is directly pegged to them.
Correct,
right?
They're
It's not
blamed,
being pegged to me. It's not my brand that's being affected. If I did a story as a journalist and my boss said this is crap, it is really affecting me because it is my story. But here they're saying that that actor's film is bakwas, right? That is what is being said. It is not anybody else. It's either that actor or that director, depending on who is the bigger brand and what is happening there. So it's never like, oh, that producer's film. You know, it's not. So I guess that's also a rationale behind not sort of moping about it or dwelling in it for too long. Yeah.
But this is another question I think I can only ask you about Aadujeevitham, okay? When you're watching Aadujeevitham for the first time, can you even for a second watch it as a movie, or is it constantly, I mean, he started making that movie even before you guys met, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like a house being built or something. It's constantly from
a house would be much faster.
Much faster,
Yeah.
much faster. So you would have overheard him, or like maybe listened to him talk about this dream of his for a decade. And while you're finally watching it, and then you're seeing what this man has put himself through, you know, physically, and the desert and the pain and all that, what are you going through? You know, isn't it like too painful to even watch?
It is. So, I mean, I remember when I came out of the screen, I was so overwhelmed and I could have got caught by the press. I was trying to exit. And then, you know, I was at a loss for words. I'm somebody who's never at a loss for words, you know. I just didn't know how to process it. It was very painful because I saw him go through this transformation. It's not easy to see somebody who is such a big guy look like a stick. And the worst I didn't see because he was there in Jordan. That was a very tough time because it was just Ali and me alone at home, and the whole world to a large degree, everybody was with their families. He was in Jordan and I was here in Cochin. And my parents live a little further off, so they couldn't come here. I mean, Kerala was very strict during the first lockdown. That bit was like, you could not even, like, a fly couldn't move, it was like that. So it was very tough during that time. It was extremely mentally very draining, and also there was a lot of uncertainty whether when would he come back. Like every day it would be like, no, are you getting a charter flight? Who can we call? When are you able to come back? Can you drive to another country and take a flight from there? Those were the things. So it all sort of came back when I watched the film. Also, I just realized how much, and I had told him I don't want to see anything till the movie releases, because I don't want to see any beach ka footage or nothing. And this whole, I knew the day when they were filming the scene where he sort of goes for the bath, and I knew what happened because I was constantly messaging his trainer, like, is he okay? Because he told me he is not having water, and like he was in a complete shred. So it's tough. And then like he was like, I blacked out and all of that. So you're worried as a wife and a partner, you're sitting so far off, and I am worried that all this is happening. So when I watched it, I was just, you know, as a wife, it was a very tough thing to watch, but as somebody who's his partner, also wife as well, I was blown away by the kind of commitment this man has to his art form. He always has maintained cinema as his first love, and I could see that on screen. And I was like, oh my God, like, you know, how have you put your body through? That worry was there constantly, like, you know, because it's not good for your heart, it's not good for your, you know, and I remember seeing him after he came from he came back, and I saw him on the pictures because we were not allowed to go to the airport to pick him up or anything, and he was in quarantine, hotel nearby. So we would video call and I would see him, and when he came home, and I remember when I hugged him, when I hug Prithvi, usually he's like this. This is like literally so small, and we were like, I could share his genes, which means to say that, oh my God, like, you know, we were almost similar size, and it was like, you know, who is this stick and bones? And from there to sort of become a little better, then again go back to that because he had to go back. So when the final schedule was on is when we decided to visit Jordan. Ali, and I wanted Ali to come as well, so Ali and I went to Jordan, and we went to see him, and that was the final last bit.
He was in that same.
He was not as emaciated.
Yeah.
He was slightly better, but he was still not eating. Like, you know, so it was tough. Even here at home, he took some time off. He had put a post. This is the first time he is taking time off because he had to lose weight. That was all he was doing. We will all sit on the same table, and I'm feeling terrible about eating my rice and whatever, and he is eating his grilled fish or grilled chicken, and that was it. And it's like very little. And, you know, I would have dessert or whatever there is in the house, and, you know, we're all eating and he's not. And we would go, like, there were friends who would call us over, and they were like, and Prithvi like, I'm in my Aadujeevitham phase. So they're all like, okay, like, you know. And at that time we had friends over. During lockdown is when we got, like, to know Dulquer and Amal and Fahad and Nazriya really well, because they would come over as well. So all of us would eat, and this man is in his Aadujeevitham phase with that tadi and all of that. So it was, you know, it was a very long commitment in terms of physicality as well, because you had to maintain that. I understand that now. At one point in time, I know I told him, Madi, like, this is enough. Like, you know how much you know, I was like, what are you trying to prove? You've given this. Can we stop now? But I guess he had something in his mind which he saw through. So I guess when I saw it, it's a tremendous piece of art. You know, from Malayalam cinema, which is something that Prithvi has been saying to me even before we got married, that I would like to be the brand ambassador for Malayalam cinema. If you see his old interviews, he's mentioned that. You know, and I saw that with this film, he was trying to prove he was trying to achieve what he had said. And as a piece of art, I hope it will go down in history. And as an artist, I'm thinking, this is it. Like, I don't want him to do this again. As a wife, I don't want him to do this again. Like, to see him go through that kind of drastic, you know, weight loss, and his teeth were shaking at one point in time. It was not pleasant. So to see him like that and not being able to eat, and when we saw him on sets there, we realized how hard it was. Hot. It was so hot. Obviously, it's the desert, and he had been shooting there for so long, and she and I went, and one day, then the next day we were like, we are not coming to the set, because obviously you go by a 4x4, then you have to walk up, you know, it's full sandy and stuff. And I was like, okay, no. And also just to mention that it's not just Prithvi. If you look at Blessy sir, wow. I mean, you know, I remember the last year shoot, he was not well. And at the airport, he was really like, you know, he was in a wheelchair. And Prithvi and I like sort of took him in, and I took food for him, and I gave him food, and we put him on the plane. And I was thinking, oh my God, and after he came back, I think he was in a hospital for about a month and a half. Is it all really worth it? I should hope so, considering the response.
Of course.
And I hope the laurels that are waiting for this film makes it worth their while. But I think the biggest laurel that they've won so far is that the people have applauded them, and how. Like, you know, it's not your mass masala film.
Of course, yeah.
It's, you know, it is a drama. It's a human survival drama. And for people to resonate so much, and the fact that they saw only Najib on screen, they didn't see Prithviraj. I think that's definitely an achievement.
Yeah. So that's my next question. When you're married to a superstar, eventually, even if you're married for 30 years, isn't it always a long distance relationship? Is it? And there's no superstar who's probably spends more than 10 days a month with their.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say, you know, being married to an actor and someone like him is challenging, simply for the fact that we're not able to stay together in the same place. Is this the biggest thing that we fight over? Yes, it's a constant bone of contention. And now my daughter is also beginning to say that, you know, you need to be home a little bit more. But I know this man is so moved by his art, and that this is all that he breathes, dreams and eats. So it puts a lot of pressure on the family. We travel a lot to go and see where he is. It's not a vacation, mind you, where he is there. We just go there to see him. He'll go in the morning, get up, go to set, finish his work. Like during Emburan, we traveled to the UK to, you know, just sort of see him. My daughter barely saw him, because in the night he will come and sleep. By then she's already asleep. And in the morning when she's still sleeping, he's gone to work. Because all the sets were far off, and he, being the director, he's like, I have to be like super early. It's not like I'm the actor and landing up. So it's not easy. So I think that is a definite challenge, being married to an actor who's busy and who's really passionate. It is a challenge, but I think that would be the thing for Prithvi as well. I'm hoping that as he's growing older, he finds some semblance of a work-life balance. Right now the balance is almost work 90, life 10%.
Yeah. Earlier it must have been 100%.
Earlier it was almost 100%, I think. So I feel like even if it is not 50-50, and that's too much to ask for in his case, I'm hoping even if it is 60-40, chalega. Like, you know,
you'll take that deal.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah.
But does it always fall on you to maintain that normalcy, that work-life balance for him? Does it always fall on your responsibility to kind of make sure he's there a certain amount of time, or is it like, does he also kind
Shouldn't you be asking him this? You've done 2 interviews, or I don't know.
Next time.
You should ask him this.
No, but this is like an important question that I mean, I need to ask you. And this is, see, we are fundamentally we're Malayalis who've lived outside Kerala than in Kerala, like longer outside Kerala than in Kerala. Whatever we can take credit for how much we know about our state and our movies and all that, isn't it still very difficult to come as outsiders and to be able to really understand what the viewers here want, or what the audience here are talking about, or what's really happening? Especially in your case, like, you may not have seen a lot of Malayalam movies growing up, right? Is that something that you can even learn, like that kind of, what do you call it, that cultural significance of something, or maybe some of the jokes that...
So the jokes, sometimes I don't get the Malayali humor sometimes, which can
even
be very...
now?
Now I do, like, but earlier when he used to crack jokes, you know, and with him and his friends, I'm like, I don't find that funny. And he is like, well, this is like, you know, dark humor, and this is how it is. You know, Malayalis have a certain sense of humor. Have I not watched films growing up? Of course, but I watched films of the 2 big M's, like, right? You know, that Delhi and all of that stuff, right? Like, the big films we would get to see. But do I not get the humor? Now I do. But if you tell me today what a Fort Kochi, you know, 2 boys sitting and talking about and some humor, it might just fly past my head. But it might fly past yours also. You're not a Fort Kochi boy. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, do we all get it? No, it's like, say, watching something from UP. We are not all from UP. We haven't lived there. But you might get the nuances. How does it move you? How do you understand it? So, like I said, you know, sometimes the humor and maybe the cultural references, like in some bit, maybe somebody might say, Pavanai, Shavamai, correct. So I might not know the cultural context of using that reference, right? But I might have a Hindi idiom in its place to say, you know, along
which they don't get.
Which they don't get. So I mean, you know, this is the idea of India. This is the beauty of India, right?
Correct.
So yeah.
Yeah, but it's also complicated because let's say we're coming from Bombay to Kerala to make, I don't know, shoes. It's still easier, right? Because everything is pretty much the same. But in cinema, there's so much of culture, there's so much of what's happening today, what are the kids playing today, or the jokes are from not even from cinema. They're from TikTok, and they're from what do you call it, those games? I don't even know what you call those games.
What games are you talking about?
I don't know. Those what do you call it, those games that they play, the fighting games that they play on the phones?
Is PUBG kind of
PUBG,
thing?
PUBG.
Oh, see, I'm more clued in than you are.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So, is there some way? I mean, of course, while you're interacting with the partners and the other people who work in the production, do you find yourself trying to
Not really.
learn?
So far, no. But like if you ask me, like say, I'll give you an example. Say in terms of casting, and we have to cast an internet sensation. I might not know who this person is. So a lot of times it's happened, or maybe in my recent film, I'm like, ye kon hai? Like,
Just 3 million followers.
Followers, okay, so that bit. That is a challenge, which I guess you can never be on top of everything. Am I well read? Yes. Do I know what's happening around the country and what's happening around in Kerala? Yes. Do I know certain things like say Aadujeevitham, for instance? I've read the book. I understand it. I read it in English. I understand the book. I understand Najib's story. Yes. But like you said, if you have like a mainstream TikTok star from Malayalam, I might be a bit clueless, but I'm very good at catching up. See, that's the thing about being a journalist. You get 10 seconds to be on top of your game before you go on for a live broadcast. I think that skill set remains. Immediately, like I'm like on Google, like okay, rest. Then when I go and talk to them, it'll be like I've been watching their videos all through their life, and then you try to be on top of your game, but sometimes it's not possible. Okay. But that's the thing, right? I can never claim to say, oh, I know it all. I don't. I'm learning. I'm very new, and cultural references may. So maybe from an old Malayalam film or whatever, I might not get it. But today I'm better, like at least earlier it was that they all used to talk and I'd be like, what are they talking about? Even the Malayalam was very different because I come from Palakkad and my husband used to say like, oh, this is not Malayalam. You guys speak all like Tamil words and things like that. Yeah. And now I understand, I think I understand the Malayalam far better. And I speak very well also. I should like to think that I speak well.
And you use a lot of proper big
newsreader
words also.
Yeah, because I have learnt from the best.
I think you say.
From the best in the business, which is my husband. His Malayalam is excellent, as is his English. Self-troll. And I was very removed to a large degree, and I had no connection with anything here. I didn't live here. I wasn't raised here. My only connection was that I was born to Malayali parents, and I was raised in Delhi, and I used to come home. So every summer vacation, I used to come to meet my grandparents in Palakkad, and some amazing times. So did you watch
all those Malayalam movies then? Or
no, in Delhi only. Yeah, in Palakkad, my grandmother used to take us to the theatre. There was Aroma Theatre in Palakkad, so she loved going to movies, and my grandfather, he didn't like going to the cinema. So she would wait for us to come and she would go. And my dad was a huge film buff. When he was growing up, he studied in Victoria College. He went for every film, every week, whatever film was there, he would go Tamil and Malayalam. So everything he would watch. So he was like a huge film buff. I mean, I grew up in Delhi, and I spent some time in Chennai. So my Tamil and Hindi cinema is like,
up to date,
more than actually Hindi, Tamil cinema is like, up to speed, and that cultural references of the 90s and all of that, I get that really well. But Malayalam, I mean, also like I said, it's, I didn't have any Malayali friends really. I grew up with a lot of North Indians, so, it was, I think my first Malayali mainstream friend was Prithvi. I didn't have a Malayali friend per se.
Well done.
So,
But at least, does it help when you go back and watch the classics?
I love them.
Yeah.
When we have a date night, which is very rare, so we usually watch an old Kamal Hassan film, which is like one of my favorites, or we'll watch an old Mohanlal Srinivasan film or an old Mamuka film. Those were classics that you want to watch, That's we won't watch the latest ones because we are revisiting and then we're like, this dialogue and all of that. So.
And are you watching those films for the first time, or you've
also
seen those
I've seen
films?
them before. So we are just revisiting them. When I watch them, I must have watched them on my own, and he must have watched them on his own or with whoever, with his family. So we are revisiting that together today as a couple that's in cinema and just as an audience member.
But can you switch off now? Or are you still thinking about like?
No, I mean, when I'm watching, then now I understand cinema better. So now I'm like, oh my God, this would have been so tough to pull off then. Like, you know, how did they manage to do this? Like, you know, itra bill
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, yeah, but otherwise you can just chill and enjoy. Like, you know, the writing is that it still stands the test of time. That's the best bit, right? Like maybe this film came out in the 80s or in the 90s, and that humor and the writing is still fresh. It is not below the belt. You know, you understand there are not too many innuendos, and you know, I don't enjoy that too much titillating. There was a phase where there was like all of that. Even in Hindi, there was, I mean, I'm not naming the actors, but there was that whole belt of, you know, that kind of stuff, which is not fun. I don't feel like it stands the test of time, and you kind of find it crass. At that time, I may have laughed, but that's without the knowledge. You also grow as a person and, you know, as an individual, and you understand, you're more emancipated. So those jokes don't land as well they did then. You know, you find it crass, you find it demeaning, you find it belittling. So yeah, so some of the humor, like one of our favorite films, I mean, I know it's going away from Malayalam, is Michael Manda Kamarajan.
It's my favorite.
I love
it's
it.
My favorite.
I love it.
Times,
I can, yeah. So we do the same thing. So he's like, which one do you want? And I'm like, Michael. He said, how many times you want to see it? And I'm just like, I just want to watch for a little while. Like, you know, anything.
Just the Palakkad. Just the Palakkad.
Yeah. Madana Kameshwaran is my favorite. Yeah. So that way. So yeah.
Okay. So few last questions.
Sure.
What's your favorite Malayalam movie from memory? Not what you've watched in the last 4 or 5 years. Like from Delhi or from Palakkad or wherever.
I think from memory, it would be so difficult. I remember watching His Highness Abdullah in a theatre in Delhi. I don't know, I was very small, but you know,
92,
I think it was brilliant. I remember that. I remember the songs. My mother used to have a audio cassette player, and she bought the album, and I used to hear these songs. Then I remember, I think that is one of the memories. I remember watching Vanaprastham when I was in college, and it kind of like
really, at a festival,
film festival. And I was like, wow, like I didn't understand the film, but I was just like, oh my God, like wow.
Not your art, no?
Yeah, and also itna knowledge nahi tha, samajhne ka. It is like, you know, it is, you don't understand so well. So I was like, wow. So I would remember this, I think His Highness Abdullah is something I remember from the theatres. From Palakkad, I know Amma wanted to watch everything that was running, so I have no recollection. I'd just be like, I'll come, and half the time, like I didn't understand what the jokes were or anything, so I'd just sit with her. We were 3 grandchildren, my cousins as well. We'd just come for the holidays, we'd go watch the film and come back. So yeah, that would be a film. Then a lot of the Mohanlal sir, Srinivasan sir films, I may not get the titles you know, ready, but I've watched them like on tapes, VHS tapes and all of that, and I really like those films. I don't know the titles very well, so I don't want to butcher it and then get trolled for it. So so
what about like Hindi films and all that?
Hindi films, I think from memory from then, if I were to think about
like favorite Hindi film, doesn't have to
my
be
all-time favorite Hindi film. Actually, I don't know if I have an all-time favorite Hindi film. There's nothing that I've been wanting. I think one of my all-time favorite, I'm a huge Mani Ratnam sir fan, so a lot of his films would be
even from then, like Bombay and all
like the time of Bombay. No, I think I understood now. Like from now, I think when I started understanding cinema, I didn't realize it moved me so much back then. Like why, whatever. Like I remember Roja very well. I remember that.
It just keep coming on TV.
And I watched it in a theatre. I remember, and I remember, wow, like you know, at that point in time, we were in Chennai for some time. So I was like, wow, you know, really moved by then. So that would be one of the films. Hindi film, I can't really think of anything. Even though like I grew up there, there's, I mean, I have watched so many Amitabh Bachchan films, and you know, I remember, what is that?
I was. You have a Shah Rukh face?
No, not really. I was always an Amir Khan kind of fan. So Shah Rukh, I mean, I wanted that cool necklace from Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. But I remember, you know, there was a Anil Kapoor Madhuri Dixit film that came sometime, Tridev, I think.
Tridev?
No, not Tridev. Tridev was some Nasiruddin Shah. I think some film it was, and I was like, wow, like, you know, amazing kind of thing. I don't know the name, like I'm bad with names, but I recognize the film when it comes on. So yeah, but otherwise not really. Off late, I think, you know, I just think there's so much good cinema being made. Like it's some of the work is pretty amazing, but yeah. Michael Banda Kamarajan for life.
Like
Yes.
always, yeah.
Always, yes.
And finally, has Ali watched Aadujeevitham? And if she has, what was her reaction?
No, so actually somebody asked Prithvi about the movie and about his daughter
Yeah.
watching, and he had said that, you know, when at some point she asked me
Later.
about my profession, I will show her this film and say, this is what your father does for a living. I think it's too tough for my child to see her
Yeah.
dad, not Prithviraj the actor,
Correct.
go through that transformation.
It was hard
And
for you, of course.
It's very
Imagine,
hard for me,
yeah.
like for her. She's seen him being emaciated, but she used to love his beard, so, you know, constantly. So I don't, not at the moment. I just think like once she's a little bit more older and she can understand, like, you know, seeing another actor, she watches, like we show her animated films
Yeah.
and things like that, and things that are child appropriate. I think when the time comes when she wants to discover her father as an actor in that, but before that she's been telling us, she's been asking, when are we doing a children's film? So that, if anyone has a good script for a children's film, please come, because I want to do a film where all children can watch, which is a fun kids movie kind of thing. So that's on
And
the
it's been so long. It used to be such a common thing when we were kids.
Yeah, now you see there are
It's
hardly
never-
any, you don't cater to that, you know, whole demographic at all. Now right now everyone's catering to the young adult, which is what
Which is
fine.
always, yeah.
Yeah, and the young adult is, and people are loving it because that's what is giving you a lot of box office success. But look, you know, children, I was just thinking, what was it, like maybe Manjadi Kuru?
Yeah, Manjari.
Yeah, Adi Karinjittu, like
Yeah.
has
Even
been
earlier, like My Dear
Kuttichan.
Kuttichan.
Adu etra kollam mumbana,
Yeah.
I think, I don't know when this movie was
Yeah.
made. My Dear
Maybe
Kuttichan.
Burroughs.
Maybe Burroughs, yeah, when Mr. Lalsa's film comes out. Maybe Burroughs, you don't know, it's coming out in September.
Yeah.
But I think that's a demographic one has to cater to. She has been asking us, and she's been saying, Dada, you have to do a children's film.
Yeah.
So we've been looking
Maybe she
for
can
scripts.
write. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's too much pressure and too much to think of.
Yeah.
She'll write what she, but I would like to do that because I also feel like such a film is important.
Yeah.
I feel like children need to have filmmakers cater to them because they're so important. They can't come alone to watch a film. The whole family has to come, and it has to be a film that engages. So my favorite thing to do on flights, I always watch animated films, and he'll be like, "What's with you?" And he'll be watching maybe something like a Nolan film, and
Yeah,
I'd be watching the latest. I love it because I love the themes, I love the animation, and I love the story. Today, like a film like Migration, if you see,
I love it,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
so fun.
yeah.
Like everybody can watch it. It's not just for kids.
Yeah.
Like animation is a little far off because it's so expensive. But at
The
least
producer.
yes,
Yeah.
it is super expensive. Like to pull off something like that. But at least something else like a children's film, true blue children's film, which can have kids theme and catering to kids would be really nice. So that's something that I would want to do.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for this, Supriya.
Thank
Such a
you.
fun time talking to you.
Thank you so much. It was really nice meeting you.
Yeah.
And I hope and wish you all the very best for your future interviews. Thank you.
Thanks
All
so
right
much,
then.
yeah.
Bye.
Bye.